And don't forget that you are proving to the world that anything is possible. You are Invictus. Let's get started.
As Invictus Games creator Prince Harry kicked off this year's event recently held in Toronto, he set in motion one of the largest celebrations of the undefeated human spirit, geared towards inspiring wounded, injured, or sick armed service personnel overcome the horrors of combat. Canadian Armed Forces veteran Jeff Virgo served 6.5 years in the military before suffering a spinal cord injury, which resulted in incomplete paraplegia.
I think it's amazing. It shows the country what the men and women in our uniform, but also our allies did with our flag on our shoulder. It also gives people a chance to stop and talk to us, and that's really what we love to see is people coming to us and thanking us, saying we support you, and also asking us what they can do, continuing to support us, not just shaking our hand, but also going that extra step. So I think it raises our profile big time.
Alongside the sporting competitions, Games organizers established a strong multi-faith component to the event, recognizing the strong part faith plays in the military. Team leader of the multi-faith chaplaincy team at the Games, Dave Wells, says having a multi-faith room gives veterans a place to turn to when looking for support.
As a Christian chaplain, it's a privilege to come alongside of those who serve in the military or have served in the military. And one of the first things you do, of course, is just listen to the story and understand that brokenness happens, injury occurs. In these games, we emphasize the unconquerable spirit, the unconquerable hope that there is. And as a Christian, I celebrate that because Romans 8 reminds us that, yeah, there is brokenness. Creation groans. Terrible things happen. And God does not go into denial about that. He lets us know that is the reality. But in the midst of that comes these great statements that God's for us, not against us. That we are more than conquerors through Christ who loved us and gave himself for us.
Invictus Games CEO Michael Burns is proud that the faith community is given a chance to stand up and say thank you to service members and veterans for protecting our rights and freedoms, including our right to worship.
Well, we recognize very early on that there's a long history with faith in military service. In fact, even here in Canada, we have a rotating chaplain that goes through the various faiths. And so for us to recognize that isn't just important for Canadian service members and veterans, but for all of the other nations that'll be coming.
My padre came to visit me at the rehab hospital, and just him coming, he dropped off the Bible and said if you wanted to read it, you can. If not, it's okay as well, though. Here's my number if you need to talk or call. A couple days later I called him and just wanted to talk and not talk about my injury, talk about what's going on, just everyday things. The padre was really amazing. Eventually we started becoming friends, and he would actually take me out of the hospital. I would go have supper with him and his wife, and it was just something to get out of the hospital and kind of reconnect your faith.
Speaking from my own conversations, my own relationships with those who have been involved in the Invictus Games, the veterans, the competitors, the active people in service, their family, their friends, to know the respect of the community, to know the respect of people like me, to honor what they have walked through, to recognize it to be real, to know that it still is real to us now, not just when the conflict occurred or the injury happened, but it's still today that you're elbow to elbow, you're there. All the volunteers that participated, including myself, you change your whole life in order to be at this place, to be in their lives, because they matter. They matter.